Good, I can almost say evening. Die sonnetjie het gesak hier agter die berg. And we are back here with Saki and Christo, and we're going to chat a little bit more about bait presentations and a number of other subjects. So we're going to start with a specific one that was a question. But just to all our viewers that have only tuned in now and haven't seen all the lives, you can always go back and check out all the lives on the Bank Angler Facebook page as well as on 4Anglers YouTube channel. The YouTube channel seemed to be more stable with the signal that we had, and you can go back and watch everything from this morning, from when we started off at the opening and the interviews with the captains and everything. So obviously we cannot bring you any of this if it wasn't for our media partners. We've got broadcast partners that came to the party for the industry and said, let's get this on air and let's get as much as possible entertainment and information out to all our viewers. Let's put this interesting tournament on the map. So we'd like to say thank you to those broadcast partners. Every one of the partners took up one day for themselves, and this one belongs to Twin Series Angling. So John Henry, jy en jou manne, baie dankie. Thanks Twin Series Angling for making today possible. So before we're going to do the presentation part, and Saki's going to take over with me, I've got two questions that came out of some of the other lives. The first one was, and it was a question from Brisbane in Australia. So the question was, that thingamajig that you cast those big bombs, looks like popgooi bomme, say, looks like bank angling balls that you chuck out there, but you use a proper stiff, and I think the guy said a Coniflex blank or something like that. He said that did all the work. That's what he said. And he says, what is that on the end and how does it work? So Christo, what is this on the end? It looks like, he said it looks like a glorified catapult, what do you call it, the sakkie at the end. So tell us, what is this? It looks like something comes from a Coke bottle.
Yeah, so we call it a method sling. It's made from a cold drink bottle, usually the 1.5 litre size, and you basically cut it into this shape. The diameter there is around 60 millimeters, and then you basically take a piece of Dacron, make a hole on the one side, push it through from the inside, make another hole at the bottom, and then you put the same piece of Dacron through that hole, through the other side, and then also from the outside again through there. That then attaches to a swivel on the top, and there's a little bit of heat shrink just to make it neat. So basically what happens is it can move through the bottle, balancing it at all times. So if it's skew like this and you put the ball on, it corrects itself.
It's like a parachute.
It sits up straight. Yes.
Why do you use the top side of the bottle and not the bottom?
It's more rigid, so it's more because of the rigidity and also the taper, the shape of the bottle.
And does the hole make any sense? Why don't you put the lid on?
The hole actually helps in releasing the ball through the air. Sorry. So it assists in releasing the ball sooner. So you want this thing to basically fall in the water as close as possible to the bank, with the ball flying on its own.
You cast it normally, as you would have cast out to 100 meters.
It's a normal cast. The angle at which you cast is a bit different. So it's as if you're casting a bit more upwards, angle-wise.
Just to get a bit of air.
To get some air and also to aid the release. It does help with the release of the ball.
Okay, and then with the hole there, it breaks the vacuum, so it comes out easily.
Yes.
It doesn't sit down, so it's almost as having a mesh or something.
Yeah.
But then when you retrieve it, it also lets out the water. It comes out quicker.
Yeah. So what some guys also do is they cut a slit in here, and they put a straight fin in there. And what that does is it basically tips sooner, so it releases the ball.
Oh, so it
quicker.
flicks out.
Yeah.
Yeah. changes the direction,
Yeah.
and it flicks it out.
but
It's not necessary.
it's
What I've
not
seen
it's
you do
not
here.
really necessary. What we like to do is you wet this before you cast. So every, let's say, 5 or 10 casts, you just wet it quickly, put the ball in and cast it.
Now, what type of distances can you feed with that?
Depending on the size of the method ball and basically the consistency of the ball, you can go anything up to 150 meters.
150, yes.
Yeah.
I've seen you guys, and the harder the ball and the smaller.
The harder, the smaller and heavier.
Yeah, it
it
can
goes very far.
I'm just checking how far is with the fish, so we're gonna show you the fish in between this presentation part, in terms of what he's catching there.
Yeah. So typically the balls that we feed here with the soft feed and particles in, I would say maximum distance would be between 130 and 140 meters.
But
for a
that's
good
far.
caster.
To cast that big ball that's like 70 millimeters,
Yes.
it's not allowed to be larger.
No, it's not allowed to. be
Okay,
large.
so 70 millimeters is the biggest. And that's a soft ball. When it hits, it almost breaks up.
It does,
and
yeah.
it goes down, and it's like particle feed.
And it's quite a heavy ball. It's very solid. So a 70 mil ball with this type of feed in weighs in excess of 150, 160 grams.
Spomming and balling with this, what is the pros and cons?
So if you start with this, you get a lot of feed in much quicker than spomming.
Okay, I'm going to break here. I'm going to come back to the question. Let's just put you on that fish. Good quality fish. That type of fish is what they want. Anything 3.5 kilos and up is good weight coming into the bag all the time. They are also over 100 kilos now. So on the other side, after the last weigh, looks like there's a peg or what that was over 100, 120, I think was the largest. And they are up to 102 or 103 or something. So the fish are starting to come back on. So while we're waiting for that, a couple of interesting things that we've learned today. The fish was on, there was no wind in the day, then the wind started coming up and it blew in a almost southeasterly direction, or going to that, so it's like a northwesterly wind blowing, and the fish was really on. The guys caught well, there was a lot of fish, big fish. Then the weather started moving over, the weather came over the mountain, it poured down, it went ice cold, the wind turned around 180 degrees, it came straight back down here, and suddenly it was quiet, especially on this side of the lake. On the other side, the guys were still catching, but it just went quiet. So the guys started using that time to feed, get some more bait in, and they also changed hook bait presentation. And when we were at Imran and them, they said to me, and it was on live, he said, a small thing. He says, if you change the hook presentation or the bait presentation, the moment you hit it, the correct presentation, what they want, immediately you're back into the fish. It says the fish are there, and the moment you hit the right one, took into the fish. So when we were at the Israeli peg as well, they also mentioned that the wind changed around and it changed how the fish behave. So being cognizant of that all the time, is quite an important factor that I learned. See, when you catch a fish, give him a couple of free offerings. Kos is op die tafel, pudding. Bederf te visse.
Met hulle voer.
Okay, so this is going to happen all the time. So better get used to it. The moment we sit down talking, there's something that's bound to going happen.
So we were discussing the pros and cons of spomming versus slinging.
That's right.
So slinging is a very efficient way of getting lots of feed in the water
Quick.
in a quick space of time. It's not as accurate as a spom because you can't really control the distance with a line clip. You do get in a rhythm. So what we usually do is once we sling, we put out a marker float just to have a distance target, and then you basically cast towards the marker float, and you get in that rhythm where you're fairly accurate.
Around 5 meters
around
around.
5 meters,
Yeah, I've
I
seen
would
that.
say.
Yeah, and you guys are Saki's quite accurate at the 120
He is,
meters.
he is.
Yeah.
So on the other side, if accuracy is the critical component, then spomming is a lot more efficient or a lot better, because you basically measure out your line at a set distance. You have a target on the opposite bank that you cast towards, and you basically only have to focus on the direction
And just get it right.
and
so
ensure
you'll
that
get
you
it in
hit
that,
the
yes.
line clip.
So you'll have a sort of a line.
Yes.
So it's easier there to just fish behind the line,
Yes.
because you will know a meter or 2 meter behind that. You
Yeah.
cannot spom further than what you tip.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think it's got a lot to do with the venue you're fishing.
If you've got a drop off or something like that, is that
If there's small, like a small shelf you want to target, the spom always wins. If it's a venue like Bloemhof where feed quantity is critical, then you sling. We usually prefer to sling at such a venue.
also you can get a lot of this in quick time, because on the spom you need to reel it out. So if
Yes.
you're spomming up 120, every time that you put it down, you need to reel
Yeah.
in 120
So,
meters.
so I mean, at that distance, you can put in 3 balls for one spom. And if you look at the feed quantity, there's about 120 grams of feed that goes into a big spom, and you're feeding 150 grams here.
So it's
So
450
it's
versus 120
almost
at the
4
same time.
times quicker.
Okay, next question. The next question was about the sponges, or the buoyant material that you put with the bait. How do you get it? Where do you get it? What is it? Is it a sponge? Is it a foam? What is that? So let's talk about that. Okay, so let's first start in terms of the material. What is it that you use?
It's a high density foam. It's called zig foam in the, let's call it the carp industry. Sakkie links. Oh yeah. So it's mostly used for zig rig fishing. And for those of you who don't know about zig rig fishing, it's basically a very long hook link that you fish in the middle or upper columns of the water. We basically use this, cut them into small discs like that, to add buoyancy to the bait, basically to get a critically balanced bait.
And there are different colors.
There's different colors, and the color makes a big difference. Certain times of the day or at night, different colors do make a difference.
What about the size? Do they come pre-punched?
They usually, you get them in a 6 to 8 millimeter size. We prefer to use, depending on the venue also, at Bloemhof we use a 6. At a venue like this where you use bigger baits, we'll use the 8 millimeter.
Okay. So do you also get it in sheets where there's a different thickness, or is it only in those tubes?
We only buy it in these little sticks.
But I've seen them in sheets as well.
Yes.
You get different thicknesses.
Yeah.
I've seen guys flavoring or putting that into some sweeteners and things
Yes.
like that. Is it important? Does it work? Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
Do you do it?
Especially for zig rig fishing. A lot of people like to use something like betaline. It's an extremely sweet, natural sweetener. It's derived from betaine.
Yeah.
So they would soak the foam in the betaine or betaine and use it as is.
I know my friend Gilbert has got a whole box
Yes.
just filled with that, just filled with betaine.
Yeah.
Okay, now the moment it's close, then you should just jump up and help him.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so in terms of colors, colors day versus night versus clean water versus dirty water, how important?
It's the color. I would say is very venue specific. At a venue like Bloemhof, we like to use red foam at night. For some reason, the red foam works very well at night. During daytime, we would use black foam, either black, yellow, or white, depending on certain times of the day.
Also where the sun is, and
Yes, and it's also not a set rule. We would experiment and say, okay, this color makes a difference, and we on that color catch a few fish, and sometimes the pattern changes, and then you just change the color without changing anything else, and then you're on the fish again.
okay, so let's just watch. Oh, he's there. Oh, he's so quick, just like that. Fish is in the bag.
Can I come handle something?
Yes, do that for you. Okay, so the next topic that we are going to talk about is bait presentations, and we've already seen a number of different bait presentations. And if you go and look at the video or the presentation, the interview that I did with Saki and Christo after the Carp essays, and you can just go back into the on our YouTube channel, for Anglers YouTube channel, you can go and watch the SA champions, how did they win. And they spoke very specifically about presentation, hook links, type of hooks, type of bait, and how it made a difference. And we had that same discussion with Imran just now about when the fish are skittish and when the fish are more aggressive. And what rig do you use when the fish is aggressive, and what rig do you use when the fish are skittish. So one of the good things that came out there as well, it was a little bit hidden, but we got it out, is that thinner hook line that they were fishing with. When you've got a big barbel on, it sort of sorts itself out. It breaks the hook line. After a few meters of playing, that hook line and over the bottom of his mouth is not called the sharp tooth barbel for no reason. It's that sharp teeth actually rubs and it breaks that thin hook line. So it's quite an important factor. And we'll chat a little bit about that. Are there some questions?
Yes. Is there a minimum amount of fish bags allowed at a certain time on the peg?
We'll ask that question now. There's a continuous weighing process. So the officials start at the one side, they weigh, and then they weigh here. So it may be about 2.5, 3 hours, then they've gone through all the pegs. So at the Nyl, or the Nyl specifically, 4 hours max. If a fish is above 6 kilos, then in any case it needs to be weighed as soon as possible. But rule of thumb, about 3 to 4 hours, that's the maximum. And you also have to have enough bags for the fish. There's another important rule at the Nyl, and they've introduced sumo carp. Now the sumo carp are very specific. They've got less scales, they've got a rubbery skin, they grow very fast, so it's a very, very special fish, and we must handle them with utmost care. So the sumo carp especially now, even in bank angling rules. So in bank angling rules at the Nyl, venue specific rules, bank angling, feeder and so forth, carp can go into the net, the normal kip net. When they're bigger than 3 kilos, they must go in a carp sack. When a sumo carp, even if it's like a 1 kilo sumo carp, it must go into the carp sack. Here, with the carp guys, every single fish, if it's 1.6 kilos, it must go into the carp sack. So you don't have any kick nets or anything
not at
whatsoever.
all.
And every single fish, nou daai klink seer. Now what happened there now?
Strike 3.
It cast with the spool a little bit loose. It goes zzz. That can be painful. Okay, Christy, so let's talk presentation. And is he feeding or is he fishing?
No, the cast fell short, so he's pulling it out.
Oh, okay, because of the loose spool.
Yeah, and that's also a very critical thing. If you're not happy where your rig landed, pull it out, recast it.
Okay, no fishing allowed off the spot.
Yes.
You had that same rule at Bloemhof as well.
At Bloemhof, same thing.
So it doesn't matter if you have to cast 5 times.
Yes.
You make sure it's on the spot.
Yeah, that's critical.
So let's just give him a chance. Are you going to cast again, Saki?
Yeah.
Okay. Already ready.
Maybe just one last question.
Yes.
While you're here, there's a question about how does it work when the two peg mates land fish? Are they allowed to help each other, or are they not allowed? What's the...
Okay, well, you can answer that. Just in
Yes.
terms of the working on the peg and what is allowed and what not.
So in terms of assisting each other, basically all 4 rods belong to all the anglers. So each angler can handle any rod on the peg. If the other guy is playing a fish, you as a peg partner can assist in netting the fish. There's only one rule, and that won't apply here, but it will mostly apply at a venue like Bloemhof where
You can walk into the water.
into the water. So there's only one guy allowed in the water. So that doesn't mean if there's
one fish on.
Yeah, if there's one fish on, only one guy in the water.
That means if Saki is landing the fish for you, you must be outside the water.
Yes,
and then he can land it inside.
Yes.
So on a shallow venue, it's quite problematic because
It is.
being 15, 20 meters in front of you
Yes.
is difficult to land.
Yeah, so that's not practical.
Okay. But if you have 2 fish on, you with your own fish, him with his own fish, you can both walk
Both
in
guys can enter the water.
and they can land their own fish.
Yes.
Trick question. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
But let's say you've got 2 fish.
Yeah.
You in with the fish, Saki's in with the fish. You are busy playing it. Yours is kiting right, his is kiting left. His comes up right in front of you, in front of your landing net. Are you allowed to land it?
It is a trick question.
You've got 2 fish. You're both in the water.
I'm not sure.
We'll ask the
you-
jury.
I think you would be because you both are allowed in the water.
But you've got 2 fish.
Yeah, but
Can you land his fish?
that's interesting.
Interesting question. Yes, sir. Julle het baie muskiete hierso.
Jealous rough.
Yeah. Well, who would have believed in the middle of May we can sit outside here and it just had a massive rainstorm this afternoon.
Yeah.
Maybe we must start while Saki's still prepping his other rig. Maybe we must... Is hy in?
Ja.
Oh, okay. So jy tar die volgende. Nou dan moet jy hier kom sit. Bring your tray. Hy het so 'n mooi skinkbordjie wat hy op sit. Ja, julle kan saam kom sit hier.
Sak, bewaring uit. Sal hom nou uitsit. Okay, maar ek kan seker aangaan.
Okay, goed. Dan sal ek hier so sit. Want as ek daar staan en die stok loop, gaan ek kom opstaan. It's the most difficult part of my job. Is standing and watching our reel runs. Nobody attends to it. Everybody's busy with something else and I'm not allowed to touch. Okay, Saki, tell us. Bait presentation. What are we talking about? Is it genetics? Is it what works?
Yeah, so today we've used, there's not really something that came through that we can say, okay, we caught 90% of the fish on that specific rig.
So there's no secret
Not
baits that
really,
work
but I
better
would
than
say
everything else.
65% of all our fish came from just a normal boilie. That's a 14mm boilie, tiger cell with a pop-up orange from Twin Series, orange pop-up that we cut in half, and then we use this paste.
What is that paste?
This paste is from raw materials of the boilie. So that's a powder. It comes in a powder form that you mix with your flavor enhancer.
Okay, so it's before it's been cooked.
Yes, correct. So what I normally do is, this is the end result. So most important is you must leave this open, because that is your cider. So normally we leave the boilie there, but we change the cider, let's say to a white or to a red, almost like the foam. So it is very important to leave that one out, because the fish see that one. So I take the paste, I'm just going to show you on this blank one.
Just for our viewers, and I know the question came earlier and there might be another one coming. The rule says you're not allowed to fish with paste. So just qualify, how can you fish with paste if the rule says you're not allowed to fish with paste?
So it's important, you can't put this paste, it's not a dough, so you can't fish with dough as well. So it's important, you can't put this on the hook.
Okay.
It must be separate. You can't put it on the hook.
It's a cover paste.
It's a cover paste.
Okay.
So it's most important, you can't cover the hook with it. So I normally just make a small little worm. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
just see if you can show it a little bit closer to the camera as you can. Just focus on that for a
So
while.
there's your cider, which is the pop-up, and then you've got your cover paste covering the boilie at the bottom.
So I just put it there, leave the cider on, which is the pop-up, different colors of pop-ups. Then I just put the paste around the,
Mold it a little bit.
mold it a little
So,
bit.
so what he's done now, he's made that little worm, a longer worm, and he just turned it around the boilie and then started molding it.
Yeah, so that's a flavored enhanced bait.
A hard boilie with a soft shell.
Yes,
It looks like a Magnum ice cream or something.
exactly, exactly. And what we've used as well is a boilie with that foam. This is the red one we're going to throw now.
Is that inside that you drill out the hole?
No,
It's just
it's
a,
just yeah, it's
just a
just
cover.
it's just a cider. So orange came through, I would say 65 to 70% throughout the day. Throughout the evening, the white one worked very well as well. This is just a tiger that we've used. Of course, we fed a few tigers as well now in the late session. So tiger with a white foam as well.
Does the shape of the tiger make any difference, and is it important?
I would say it's important. At Bloemhof, we used punch tigers
When you use a punch tiger and when you use a full tiger?
for the bigger fish. I like to fish it for the bigger fish. The punch tiger, you also get bigger fish, but I like it
A bit rough.
about rough. Yes,
It's a different shape.
different shape. Yeah, you can
Do-
cut it.
Do
in
you ever
different
use? Oh,
Interesting.
there's a fish. Do you ever use two tigers?
Not really. I would no, not really. Two tigers. You get the extra large tigers. I would rather fish one extra large tiger rather than two tiger nuts. Yeah. And this is just the PVA with the pellets in that we use as PVA. So normally in Bloemhof we use chick or crushed maize. Here we use pellets, fish pellets.
Okay, why?
Because the fish is used to
They feed it
they
every day.
Every day. So
So give them what they eat.
yes, exactly. So you can put crushed feed in, but I mean they feed the fish the pellets, so we use the pellets.
Okay, we'll dissect the pellets and what is in there with Christo just now. Just talk a little bit about the rig that you use, and how do you get that bag on there?
Okay, so I'm quickly going to take off the bag. This is just a nylon coated hook link with braid hair, and then you
Why
just
is the braid hair important?
in Bloemhof we fished not the braid hair, we fished the nylon. Here it's a bit soft, so we like to fish it soft braid.
Does it give your
Bait presentation, yes.
a little bit more live?
Yes, a little bit live, a little bit more specific. yeah, that's why we fish.
Okay, so how do I
this
get
way.
that little bag?
Okay, so you take the needle, put it from there to there straight through. Then you take the rig. There's a small little loop on this side. Take the needle, put it in, and then you'll see just it just goes through. We like to fish this big PVAs. At Bloemhof we would fish small PVAs.
Because every time you put that handful of pellets in there.
Pellets, yes, yeah, that leaves a bit of extra feed in. So yeah, that's basically how we
Okay,
fish
now
it.
that hook, how far do you pull it in, and is there a specific place where the hook point must be? And
Yeah, so Christo. So what me and Christo like to do, we like to pull it straight, like deep in, so that the hook is in. Because the pellets, what's most important at Bloemhof is when you use crushed and you pull it deep
sits
in,
on the hook point.
It sits on the hook point.
Yeah.
But with the pellets, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So this is how we like to fish it, straight in. At Bloemhof, we would like to fish it like this,
Okay.
just on the side.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the point of
Yeah,
the
because
hook
it
gets the
pip,
maize,
millipip
yeah,
or
millipip.
maize or something.
Correct.
Just sits on it.
Yeah,
And here it won't happen with it.
no, it won't.
The little knot that you have on there, having the hook point in that knot or close to the knot, does it make a problem? Or-
Not really, not really.
Because does it really dissolve?
Yeah, fully. So yeah, best me and Christo like also to do is to put it a bit skew away from the knot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Because it
definitely
takes a little
helps.
bit longer to dissolve.
Yes.
So if you have quicker pickups,
Pickups, yes.
it can mean that if you are too close to that, the hook point can still be consumed.
Yes, correct. So yeah, that's basically.
Just is your right on? Yes, okay. Okay.
So that's basically, yeah, with the paste, with the boilies. Well, we fished almost all the day with boilies. We caught some few fish on the maize as well, but that was smaller fish, a lot of smaller fish.
Okay, and also when they were a little bit more skittish.
Yes.
And that was similar to what you did at Bloemhof, just and that's normal maize. It's not
It's normal maize
out of the tin.
out of the tin with a cider. We used a white one today, but that caught all the small fish.
Question: hair length versus hook size.
Okay, so Christo is also expert on that. Me and him, I fish the rooderkoppies. I like not the long hairs because I use extenders. So I would say 20 to 25. Christo likes it a bit longer. So what's most important is the hook. The hair must be the length. You must still fit a bait on the hair, and it must be on that turn of the hook. Must
yes.
be level with that turn of that
Okay,
hook.
so it mustn't be able to go through.
No,
And it mustn't sit right up.
and it mustn't be too long.
Yeah.
So just like that.
Yeah, so
Then it's
Saki,
perfect.
just to add to that, I would always go for a gap of between 2 and 5 millimeters.
2 and 5 millimeters between the hook and the top of the bait.
And we'll also adapt it. If you always check your hookups. If you don't get good hookups, you always change the hair length first.
Do you first go longer or first go shorter?
Depends on the hookup, if it's either deep or shallow hooked. So that would then determine if you shorten it or lengthen it.
I've got a question. Do you perhaps have a glass or something like that? I want to do that dissolve thing. I want to show the viewers what it looks like when the PVA bag opens up and how we dispose of the content. Do you like the interesting stuff that we are discussing? Is it technical enough? Is it too technical? Give us your views and tell us what you think about it. In the meantime, thank you to all our media sponsors. Makes it possible for us to sit here and talk to you. And today we are specifically saying thank you to Twin Series Baits, Twin Series Angling rather. So let's have a look at what happens when this goes in. It's like 15 seconds. Gone, just pellets.
Yeah,
So
it dissolves.
in deep venues, let's say you are casting far and the water is 10-15 meters deep, doesn't it dissolve before the bait is at the bottom, and how do you handle that?
So you get different types of PVA. You get a fast one, you get a slow one. So normally we would use the slower version. So there is different kinds of PVAs that is available in the market.
When you use a solid bag versus a mesh?
I like to fish at far distances. I would like to fish if there's a lot of obstacles in the water and a lot of grass and stuff. I would like solid PVA, but the thing is smaller. I like the smaller PVA for long distances because you get further distances. So I would rather fish the solid bags close by and not that far.
Not that distance?
No.
Okay. Distance you go
For the smaller PVA?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And deeper waters you have the slower dissolving one?
Dissolving one.
Okay. Great. Are you making progress there, Christy?
I am.
How many fish have you landed while we were talking?
Just one.
Just one. I didn't hear any pudding going in.
No, not yet. I just want to try and see the bites with the glow stick.
Okay, so what has changed now, we started chatting so nicely here. They didn't put on any of the glow sticks, so it's just normal policemen. But it's important to see the bite, and for that they use a glow stick onto a cork policeman, put it in so that they can see what's happening. Christo, today when we were here the previous time, we spoke about the type of bites that you had. Some of them were just running, but you had these other just indications, bumping, all of that, and it's important for you to see that.
Yeah, so at times the fish get very sensitive, and if you only fish with swingers, they won't necessarily move the swinger, so you won't even know that you've had a bite.
Yeah, did you have a lot of back bites?
We did have a few. I would say about 30%, 20 to 30%.
Okay. 2 to 3 out of every 10 bites is a back bite, and for that at night you need a light that you can see.
The other important thing with a glow stick at night is also to see where the fish is going. So for your line management, because it moves right down to your rig, and then you basically follow the glow stick to see where your fish is going.
I thought you're putting the light there for the fish to know where he must come to.
No.
Okay, so let us give him some time to get it up. We're going to ask one more question to Christo, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight, or for this session here on their peg. If there are any more questions, just pop them in. If we don't answer them today, we'll answer them tomorrow. And keep getting those questions in. And comments. If you like what we're doing, tell us. If you don't like it, also tell us. If you can't hear the sound, set up your volume. Sometimes here we are challenged, depends on the overcast, depends on how close we are to the mountain, so depends on where the load shedding is, what towers are down. We've got quite advanced equipment here now to talk to that. We've got a number of different SIM cards in, and some extenders and amplifiers and everything, but still we have areas and times where the signal is not what we wanted. What you will also notice is sometimes, for whatever reason, it uploads to Facebook and to YouTube differently. So sometimes you get a better broadcast quality on YouTube and sometimes on Facebook. So watch both of them. And if you have any other proposals or something, some suggestions, pop them in. Let's see what we can do. We are here for you, and here's a number of them. Okay, so Christo, our next question
Christo,
is going to be
What? Sorry.
in the eyes. Is going to be about what is in the PVA bag. So maybe you can get some pellets ready and tell us about it. There's a question about with bank angling, and Shane calls it popgooi. Would it be a plus to use the Carp setup and let's say at a Promania competition over 8 hours? And there's been quite a discussion on the Promania side, and what we said is that a Carp setup can be used, but not the PVA bags. So that was ruled out, but certainly it can be used. Then Kobus and Marissa asked, ek het dit gekry dat as jou hair met jou byt styf teen die hoek sit, sluk die vis dit diep in en kry jy 'n deep throat hookups. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So if it's close by, it sucks it in deep.
So you get that deep hookup, but what happens is it doesn't always hook properly, and it tears the mouth up until the point where it either can sit or tear out. Most of the time it would tear out.
Also, with the closer to the hook, sometimes especially sucking it in and blowing it out, because the hook doesn't have space to turn, it doesn't set.
It doesn't turn properly.
So
yes.
it sucks it in and spits it out
Yes.
again. And some of the underwater footage that I've watched is that when it's too close, you can eject the hook quite easily. Okay, and then there's what size ultra hooks are you using?
At this venue we're using the size 14 ultras. I think it's the biggest size in the range. Which are we?
14.
14, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's bigger. At Bloemhof you used
We
something
used
like
the
a
size
6
9 at
or 9.
Bloemhof,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, it was much smaller. Okay, so let's talk about what is inside the bag.
So I'll cut it open. So basically, it's a mixture of the different true feed pellets. So we've got the maize one, which is the
Okay, so
lighter
let me
one.
just tell you what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing a fairly light one.
Yes.
Then I'm seeing a brownish one that is about the same shape and size as the light one. And then I'm seeing a fairly dark one.
Yes. So it's a combination of the three different pellets. The medium one, or the light brown one, it's got a little bit of fish meal in, and then the dark one is a heavy fish meal based and oil based or oily pellet.
Yeah, that's also the one that is they call it double extruded or vacuum oil.
Yes.
Okay, so what they do is once they put it in the oil, they put it under vacuum, so it sucks it right into
Yes,
the pellet. Is
that's
that
right. Yeah.
So it's more oily, so it
Yes.
contains more oil.
Yeah.
Do you want more oil or not?
So, with regards to oils, it all depends on the water temperature. If it's really cold water, oils aren't really a good thing, because the oils actually, what's the right word? They can't release. They can't release. So
they smother the bait.
So they smother the bait, and that also affects the solubility of your bait. And fish, carp specifically, react on water solubility of bait. So the more water soluble your bait is, the easier the fish can pick up the scent and the
Because
flavor.
you will also know that it's easier digestible.
Yes. So if you look at the composition of the mix that we made in the PVA bags, you'll see that the majority of the pellets are the maize one and the light fish meal. And there's only a few of the dark fish meal pellets in. Reason being, there's lots of barbel in the venue, and the barbel love those black pellets or the dark brown pellets. The carp also love them, but if you overfeed the darker pellets, the cats can be a problem.
I see that in some of your other bags, I've seen that especially these, the maize pellets, you also like to flavor. I've seen different colors
Yes.
and so on. Do they flavor well?
They flavor very well. We flavor them at this venue with a cinnamon type flavor called Cinnamon, and then there's also a variety of liquid foods that we use to flavor the pellets.
Let's talk a bit, and that's a question from my side. You've spoken earlier about liquid foods as well.
Yes.
So liquid foods to me is like yogi sip and some things like that. So what is liquid food?
So, in simple terms, liquid foods are very similar to the ingredients in your boilies, but in a liquid form. So it's a very highly soluble form. But examples of that of ingredients would be certain yeasts, hydrolyzed liver, hydrolyzed either squid or krill or fish. And then there's betaine. Usually they add betaine, some things like CSL. So it all depends on,
So that's what they call HNV baits, high
Yes.
nutritional
Yes.
value baits. So
Yeah.
there's a lots of nutritional stuff in
Yes.
there. Yeah.
So, and the advantage with the liquid foods is, because it's so water soluble, the fish pick it up quickly. It releases in the water column, and the fish are on it much quicker than, let's say, a boilie that's not properly soluble.
Okay. And you soak some of these pellets in there as well. I've
Yes,
seen
we
that
do.
they become brown
Yes,
and a bit sticky.
very sticky.
Well, that's great. So let's see if there's. Okay, well, Devil asked about the sling. So yes, Devil, just go back into the life, into the beginning. We explained that right in the beginning. Christy had a beautiful discussion about exactly how to make it. It's quite easy to do. He gave the dimensions and everything. So it was the very first question of the live. Well, guys, the last thing, you were just over 100 kilos. How happy are you with your results for today?
We're fairly satisfied. We would have liked to have more weight. The second weigh session was a bit more difficult after the weather changed. It's as if the fish went off the bite. And
That's something very interesting, because there was a clear-cut difference between this side of the dam and that side of the dam. In the second weigh, those guys weighed more than in the first weigh.
yeah,
On this side, everybody here weighed less
yeah.
than their first weigh.
And I think that's because the wind direction changed. The wind direction pushed the fish to the other side.
Okay, well, the wind does matter. Christo, thank you very much. It was great.
Thank you very much.
Saki, thank you for insightful comments here.
Pleasure.
And there's something that I would really like to thank these two chaps. And I had the same experience with them at Bloemhof. They don't care to share. And they are really open and honest. And although it's important for them in terms of competitiveness here, they just open up. Because they love if you catch more fish. So thank you for that notion. It is truly one of the characteristics of great anglers, is the ability to share unconditionally. And I would like to thank you for that and congratulate you. Let's see if we have some big weights by tomorrow morning. So enjoy it. It looks like the weather plays along.
Yeah.
One thing about this venue at night, if we had that wet type of weather at night, it's miserable to fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not nice. So thank you for watching. Thank you for asking those questions. Get those comments coming in, the suggestions, the what you like, the what you don't like. And let's see if we can do it better tomorrow. Thank you to all our media partners, and specifically thank you to Twin Series Angling for today, making it possible. Cheers guys, we are signing out for now.